I want you to imagine right now just a pure, white, completely blank canvas in your mind.
Just totally blank.
Yeah, totally blank. And then I want you to picture this massive, heavy black number just crashing down right in the center of it. The number is 15.1%.
Right.
And right beneath that number, there's a stark, bleeding red arrow pointing straight down.
It's a pretty intense visual.
It is. But, I mean, it's necessary because that number, that 15.1%, it's the key to this massive mystery we're looking at today. So, welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, our mission is to unpack an incredibly revealing stack of data from the latest Human Development Report, specifically zeroing in on the East Asia and Pacific region.
Which is, usually hailed as this absolute miracle of modern economic growth.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about 30 years of just explosive prosperity. But that 15.1%, that is a penalty. It's this massive hidden, we're calling it an earth tax, that we're paying for all this prosperity.
Right, because true development, the kind that actually lasts, it isn't just about how fast a region grows its GDP. It's about, well, how it grows. And importantly, who gets left behind when the engine is running red hot.
Yeah. So we aren't just looking at the glowing headlines today. We're looking at the hidden costs, the environmental strain, the gaping inequalities, and these really shocking societal backslides that threaten to just undermine 30 years of progress.
It's a reality check.
It really is. So let's just jump right in. Let's unpack this grand illusion of progress, because if you just look at the traditional metrics, right, like the standard numbers, this region has been climbing this massive ladder.
Oh, absolutely. The raw numbers are staggering. I mean, the United Nations uses the Human Development Index, the HDI.
Right.
And in 1990, the region's HDI was 0.514.
Okay.
But by 2023, it's skyrocketed to 0.775.
Okay, so from 0.514 to 0.775. That's, I mean, mathematically, that's roughly a 50% increase in overall development level in just over 3 decades.
Exactly. And, HDI isn't just money. It measures a long and healthy life, access to knowledge, and a decent standard of living.
Right.
So hitting 0.775, it means the region officially transitioned out of the medium human development category entirely. They are now solidly in high human development.
Okay, let's unpack this, because it sounds amazing, right? It's like, imagine climbing a massive 30-story staircase. We started in the basement in 1990, and now we are like on the top floors. We're in the penthouse.
It's a monumental achievement for sure.
If we're in the penthouse, why does the air feel so thin? Like, why is our score suddenly blinking red when we adjust it?
Well, that's where that 15.1% comes back into the picture, because the researchers realize the standard HDI has this massive blind spot.
It ignores the planet.
Completely ignores it. It measures the wealth built, but not the destruction left in the wake of that building. So they created the Planetary Pressures Adjusted Human Development Index.
The PHDI.
PHDI.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the ultimate ecological reality check. It takes that great score of 0.775 and penalizes the region based on high carbon emissions and material footprints.
And when you apply that reality check, what happens to the number?
The true value crashes down to 0.658.
Wow. 0.658.
Yeah. And that gap, the difference between the unadjusted score and the reality check, that is your 15.1% penalty.
That's the earth tax.
Exactly. Over 15% of the region's supposed development achievements are essentially invalidated because the growth model is just so destructive.
But wait, let's look at the historical trend of that. Because was it always a 15% penalty?
No, and that's the scary part. Back in 1990, that gap was only about 3.9%.
So back in the 90s, it was just a tiny slap on the wrist.
No.
3.9%.
Right. But as they chased that explosive 50% growth over the next 30 years, the penalty just ballooned from 3.9 up to 15.1.
I mean, that tells us that the engine powering this economic miracle was fueled by incredibly toxic stuff. Like, the higher they climbed, the more damage they had to do to maintain the speed.
Precisely. They bought their progress by putting it on an ecological credit card.
So to figure out why these warning lights are flashing so brightly right now, we need to stop looking at just one number. We need to look at the whole, the entire regional dashboard.
Right, because the dashboard tells a very complex story. So for 2023, picture 4 key dials.
Okay, 4 dials. I'm picturing it.
Dial 1 is the HDI, sitting at 0.775. Dial 2 is the GDI, the Gender Development Index, which is actually quite high at 0.973.
0.973, got it.
Dial 3 is the GII Gender Inequality Index, sitting at 0.315, and dial 4 is that PHDI reality check at 0.658.
Okay, so looking at all four of those dials, if we rank East Asia and the Pacific against the rest of the world, where do they actually land?
Out of 203 countries and territories, the region currently ranks 96th globally.
96th. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read the business news, you'd think they were top 10. But 96 is like upper middle of the pack.
It is. But here's the red flag. They dropped. In 2021, just 2 years earlier, they were ranked 86th.
Wait, really? They dropped 10 places globally in just 2 years.
Exactly. And dropping 10 places that quickly is a major indicator of stagnation. It shows that the region's traditional growth engines...
Like the cheap labor in mass manufacturing.
Right. Those engines are sputtering. They've hit a ceiling.
Yeah, it's like we picked all the low-hanging economic fruit, you know? The easy excellent booms are over. But if we're sliding backward, if the pie isn't doubling in size every 5 years anymore, who is pulling us down? Or rather, who is absorbing the shock of that stagnation?
And that leads us directly into the issue of inequality. Because how this newfound wealth is distributed is, well, it's arguably the biggest problem on the dashboard.
The plunder of inequality.
Plunder is a good word for it. The report uses the inequality-adjusted HDI, the IHDI.
Okay, so this adjusts for fairness.
Right. It takes the HDI and discounts it based on how unequally health, education, and income are distributed. And when you apply that to the region score, it drops from 0.775 down to 0.649.
Okay, so what does that drop represent in, like, plain percentages?
It represents an overall loss in development quality of 16.25%.
16.25%. Just gone.
Wiped out. Over 16% of the region's potential human development is erased just because the society fails to share its gains fairly.
Okay, I like to visualize things.
Right.
Imagine pouring a full bucket of water. That bucket is our HDI, the wealth we generated.
Okay.
But the bucket has 3 holes in it.
Right, the 3 dimensions of inequality.
Exactly. So let's break down those leaks. Where is the water actually going?
Well, the first leak is life expectancy inequality. That causes a 7.7% loss.
Okay, a small leak for health.
Then there's education inequality,
Yeah.
which causes an 11.8% loss.
A medium leak for education, meaning rich kids get way better schools than poor kids.
Right. But the third leak, income inequality, that one causes a staggering 27.8% loss.
27.8%.
Yes.
The bottom of the bucket is completely blown out. I mean, we're losing nearly 28% of our income potential before we even take a sip.
It's the region's heaviest anchor by far. It proves that while the GDP got massive, the slice of the pie given to the average worker, the person actually building the phones and pouring the concrete, that slice, did not keep pace with the elites.
So the wealth just concentrated at the very top.
Exactly. And when you have that level of concentration at the top, it creates extreme deprivation at the bottom. The data shows that 5.0% of the population still lives in multidimensional poverty.
5%. 1 in 20 people. And just to clarify for you listening, multidimensional poverty isn't just like, I can't afford a nice car.
No. It means acute overlapping deprivations. Lacking clean water, having no electricity, severe malnutrition, kids totally locked out of school, all at the same time.
In a region famous for high-tech hubs and bullet trains, 1 in 20 people is living like that.
And the intensity of that poverty is 42.3%, meaning those people are deprived in over 40% of the basic well-being indicators.
They are deeply submerged in it.
Completely locked out of the prosperity.
Okay, so this massive inequality, it isn't just a class issue, right? It heavily intersects with gender.
It does.
We have to look at how women are faring in this supposed golden era, because the gender data in this report it's a paradox. It really is.
It's a mix of incredible triumphs, deep structural traps, and, frankly, some real tragedies.
Let's start with the triumphs, because we don't want to ignore the good news. The Gender Development Index, the GDI, is 0.973. That's high.
Very high. And a huge driver of that is education. Over the last 30 years, the expected years of schooling for females literally doubled.
Doubled, yeah.
From 7.4 years in 1990 up to 14.9 years in 2023.
14.9 years. So a young girl entering the system today can expect to go through high school and well into college That is a massive victory.
It's a testament to state policy and cultural shifts. They decided girls' education matters.
Okay, and here's the reality check. Expected years is just a projection for the kids today. What about the adult women actually out in the real world right now?
Right. When we look at the mean years of schooling, the actual average for adult women currently in the population is only 8.0 years.
8.0. So there's almost a 7-year gap between what we expect for the future and what women actually have today.
Exactly. Now, a lot of that is a generational lag. Older women who grew up in the 70s and 80s didn't have access to schools, so they pull the average down.
Sure, mathematically that makes sense. But even for the younger women who did get that education, who have those degrees,
Yeah.
there's a trap waiting for them, isn't there?
A massive economic trap, and we see it in the labor force participation rates. We are educating millions of women, but the male labor force participation rate is 76.3%.
Okay.
The female participation rate, only 54.9%.
54.9. Wow. That is a gap of over 21 percentage points.
Over a 21-point gap.
So if you're listening, picture a male and a female silhouette side by side. What does this actually mean? It means we are spending all this money to educate brilliant women, sending them to college, and then they just vanish from the economic data.
They vanish from the formal economy.
Right. We're leaving massive economic potential on the table. Why is this happening?
Well, it's the burden of unpaid caregiving. Society expects women to handle childcare and elder care. And structural issues in the workplace, like extreme, inflexible hours, the infamous 996 culture, it makes it physically impossible for women to balance a career and the caregiving duties society forces onto them.
So the state gets to brag about having highly educated women, but then relies on them to do millions of hours of free labor at home instead of building the economy.
Exactly. It's an invisible subsidy. But as troubling as that is, we have to talk about the tragedy in this data.
Yeah. This part it's rough.
We need to look at the maternal mortality ratio, the MMR.
And just define that real quick.
It measures the number of women who die from pregnancy-related causes per 100,000 live births. It's a baseline indicator of how much a society values women's lives.
Right. And you'd assume with all this economic growth, new hospitals, better tech, this number would be going down.
And it was. In 2019, the MMR dropped to a historic low of 64.1.
64.1, which is good progress.
But then it reversed.
It reversed.
By 2023, the maternal mortality ratio had risen steadily back to 78.1.
78.1. Wait, so I want to make sure I'm emphasizing this correctly. We have a sharp red upward trend line on the graph of mothers dying in childbirth
Yes.
in a region that is supposedly highly developed.
Yes. How is that even possible?
It's a glaring, flashing warning light. It indicates a severe degradation in healthcare accessibility and quality, and it was heavily exacerbated by the post-pandemic economic strains.
The COVID hangover.
Exactly.
Right.
During the pandemic, resources were diverted. But when the economy opened back up, the factories got funded, but the rural health clinics didn't.
So maternal health was treated as an expendable luxury.
Right. If a rural clinic loses its midwife, a pregnant woman has to travel hours to a city. And if there's a complication, she dies. This is what happens when wealth is highly concentrated and the social safety net is neglected. We are literally going backward on keeping mothers alive. I mean, it breaks my heart. And it shows that we are failing to fully protect and utilize our human resources. But what about our natural resources? Because this labor force gap, this disregard for vulnerable lives, it leads us directly into how our industrial models are just chewing up the planet.
It's the exact same mindset of extraction, which brings us back to that 15.1% Earth tax. The ecological bill has come due.
Let's look at the receipts, starting with the carbon footprint.
So if we look at per capita CO2 emissions, in 1994, it was 2.2 tons per person.
2.2.
By 2023, it grew to 6.46 tons.
6.46. That's nearly a 3x increase.
Yeah.
Basically, emissions have grown roughly 2.45 times since the early 90s.
It's an explosion of carbon, driven by coal plants, massive manufacturing hubs, and millions of new cars.
Right. But carbon is invisible, right? It floats away. The second metric you have here, the material footprint. This one is physical. This one is visceral.
It really is. The material footprint measures all the raw materials extracted globally to meet a country's consumption demands. Concrete, steel, rare earth metals, timber, biomass.
Okay, give me the numbers.
In 1990, the per capita material footprint was 4.9 tons.
Almost 5 tons per person.
Right. But in 2023, it surged to a staggering 19.68 tons.
19.68 tons. That's almost a 4-time increase.
Yes, nearly a 4x jump.
Okay, I want you listening to really imagine this. Imagine a giant pile of raw earth, rocks, trees, and metal ore weighing nearly 20 tons, sitting right in your living room.
It's hard to even picture.
It is. But that is your personal yearly toll on the earth just to maintain this modern lifestyle. Every single year, 20 tons of the planet is dug up, processed, and discarded just for you.
It proves that the region's growth model has been hyper-resource intensive. The wealth was quite literally dug out of the ground. It's endless extraction.
We haven't just maxed out the credit card, we are burning down the bank.
Well put. And it's mathematically unsustainable.
So we've seen the raw data. We know the current path, this endless extraction, the widening inequality, the maternal mortality going up. There's a dead end. We are hitting a wall. So how do we pivot? Because we can't just give up.
No, we can't. The report outlines a very clear pivot, a way to redefine progress. And it starts with a massive philosophical shift. The region has to transition from a growth-first mentality to a quality at the core strategy.
Quality at the core.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are 3 specific strategic recommendations to do this, right?
Exactly. 3 pillars. Pillar number 1, repair the distribution mechanism.
Fix the bucket.
Fix the bucket. You have to plug that 27.8% income inequality loss. You need progressive taxation, better labor rights, and a real safety net so that wealth actually circulates to the bottom.
Makes total sense. If the workers have money, the society is stable. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is the green and low carbon transition. We absolutely must shrink that 15.1% penalty gap between the HDI and the PHDI.
So we have to stop digging up 20 tons of earth per person.
Right. Move to a circular economy, decarbonize the grid, and stop relying on hyper-extraction for GDP growth.
Okay, and the 3rd pillar?
Pillar 3 is a recommitment to gender safety. We must immediately halt and reverse the terrifying upward trend in maternal mortality.
Fund the rural clinics. Protect the mothers.
Yes. And beyond that, fix the structural barriers that keep women out of the workforce. Close that 21-point labor gap.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize all of this together. I keep picturing the simple balancing scale. On one side, you have economic growth, skyscrapers, stock markets. On the other side, you have environmental well-being and human safety.
Right.
For 30 years, we piled all our weight on the economic growth side, and we climbed out of poverty, which is amazing. But we piled so much weight on that one side that the scale fundamentally broke.
It snapped.
Yeah. Because the true measure of a society isn't how fast we ran the race over the last 30 years. It's what kind of earth we're leaving behind at the finish line.
I think that perfectly synthesizes the entire episode, or the entire deep dive, I should say.
Yeah.
True development isn't just a high GDP. It's a society that protects its planet, shares its wealth equitably, and keeps its most vulnerable citizens, especially its mothers, safe.
Absolutely.
And, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final question to ponder today.
Let's hear it.
We've talked a lot about macro data. We know what the Earth tax looks like on a UN spreadsheet. But look around your own community today. What does that Earth tax look like in your neighborhood? And more importantly, who is actually paying it?